honor and glory to our power Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Rachak Wadash, Toba honors to the apostles, the bishops, and the elders, a great millstone, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, whoever you may be, to you I say, Shalom, Yahshua, Shalom. All right, I'm gonna try to be brief. This is the same article. Well, I guess you wouldn't know, but I try to pull this up. But my ticker keeps stopping at the other. I think it was from Newsweek that I wanted to read, but my ticker keeps stopping there. So I'm jumping over to Reuters. So we can still make the same point. So it says Russia accuses NATO, EU of waging real war on it via Ukraine. Okay, Russia accuses NATO and the EU of waging real war on it, meaning on Russia, by way of Ukraine. Okay, and one of the first things that came up in the other article, which is why I have this here, and we'll see if we can punch this up. If we can bring everybody up to speed. Okay, what is a proxy? I probably should have put proxy war, but maybe they'll give it to us. Yeah, I don't want the computer stuff. I want proxy war. A proxy war is a military conflict where an external third party supports one or more combatants, either state or non-state actors, to influence the conflict's outcome and advance its strategic interest without direct, significant military engagement. This indirect involvement allows major powers to compete for influence and resources while avoiding direct confrontation, especially in scenarios where direct conflict could escalate significantly, such as during the Cold War with the threat of nuclear war. Yeah, Cold War, which I guess that takes us right back to our main topic. Because basically what this is more poking and provoking of the bear being Russian. You know, usually it's coming from America, but as vassal states to America, the NATO and the EU I'm speaking of as vassal states, same difference almost, I guess. Not exactly, because they're not in America. But, you know, the provoking is usually coming from America. Okay, I believe this is behind the part of this has to do with the Poland situation. But ultimately, the main thing is Russia is saying that they're basically involving in conflict with them because they're pretty much backing up Ukraine, who they are at war with. Okay, so that's the whole proxy war situation. They're not being directly involved in the Russia-Ukraine situation, but if they're assisting or backing up, however you want to say, the Ukrainians, then they're involved in war against us, meaning Russia. So that's what they're saying there. See, third parties provide support through various means, including military aid, training, economic assistance, and sometimes limited military operations with surrogate forces. Indirect support can involve blockades. Look, oh man, see, look, sanctions. Okay, sanctions. All right, which that is where America comes in. Okay, they dish out sanctions like Oprah. Okay, and trade embargoes. As a matter of fact, we're gonna grab something in a second here. The supported combatants of proxies act on behalf of the third-party state sponsor. The relationship between sponsors and proxies can be complex, with potential principal agent problems where the sponsor may struggle to control the proxy's actions. Proxy wars can also manifest as civil wars where both sides receive foreign military aid. We don't have to get into all of that there. Especially for major powers, proxy wars offer a way to compete without risking direct, potentially catastrophic conflict. That's what America has been doing. They've been dancing around Russia, okay, for a minute now, okay. They've been really dancing around Russia, but it's because they know what the deal is, okay. Once you go head up with the bear, there ain't no turning back, okay. Now I'm not saying they're not in some way. They're kind of involved because I mean we're talking about proxy wars, which I mean Ukraine is the perfect example because did not is that Vladimir Zelensky who came over here few times, and he's doing what? He's playing kiss ass to beg Trump in America for money, all right, or weapons or whatever, maybe both. Okay, same thing they do for, well, state of Israel is more so of a free flowing thing, because pretty much America is the state of Israel's wallet. Okay, but with Ukraine is different. Okay, that's why he said they don't have the cards. We have the cards. They don't have the cards. But and then Zelensky, got kicked out the White House, and then like a week or two later, he came back because he needed that dough. He needed that bread. Okay, but that's a form of somewhat of a form of a proxy. Okay, because America is assisting Ukraine, who is in direct conflict with Russia, but yet America and Russia are not in direct conflict. So that's what Russia is saying about the NATO and EU. That, hey, if you're continuously involved in this, then you are pretty much involved with us. Okay, in any kind of way, if you're involved with this, you're involved with us. Okay, it's sort of like the what was the situation? Um, Man, it's been a while since I talked about that one. I think it was about China. China and, was it Taiwan? I can't remember. I think it's China and Taiwan, where I almost want to say that was when Biden was in office. Okay, I don't think it was far back as Trump's first term. I can't remember which of the two it was. I believe it was when Biden was in office. But China, because I think it was Biden, because I think China, Xi Jinping met with Biden, and so they chopped it up, and China pretty much was like, we're gonna get Taiwan, okay? No matter what, who says what, we want to take Taiwan because they're saying that it belongs to them. Sort of like with Russia, okay? Saying this belongs to us, Crimea, Ukraine, or whatever the case may be, okay? So China was saying the same thing about Taiwan, I believe it was, and Biden was like saying, okay, it's cool, whatever, we're okay with it, but yet when he got back home, all of his actions said the opposite of what it was. But China was serious, like no one's going to stop us. If you get in the way, then you're pretty much going against us. Okay, I know it wasn't quite as accurate as the other things we're talking about, but that is a good example though about how America is doing things. Okay, and they're pretty much everywhere in everyone's business. But let's keep this going though, because I want to get to the point here. Um, I mean, that was pretty much it. There was something I want to pull up though. Let me see if I can go back up here to where all this stuff was. Let's see if I can jog my memory what it was. I'm gonna pull up real quick. Cold War. So it must have been further up. Man, that was something I want to type in that I saw. Just bear with me. A couple ticks here. It's indirect involvement allows major powers to complete for foundation. Man, what was it? Oh, there it is. Yep, that's what it was. Sanctions. Okay, I want to type in this. How does uh, sanction affect or effect whatever a nation or a country or a nation? I just put both country or nation. Sanctions, when imposed on a country or nation, can have a multifaceted and often severe impact across various sectors. These impacts can range from economic disruption and political instability to social consequences and humanitarian concerns. Economically, sanctions aim to cripple a nation's financial stability and trade capabilities. This is often achieved through several mechanisms. Okay, that's why those sanctions are so important. Okay, and that's why Russia, they kind of get pissed off when America throws that around. But that's the whole point of the BRICS nations. Well, we'll deal in our own local currency, but with one another. So I'll figure out how many um I don't know Russia's money. I'll just say rubles just to make a point. So how many yens to rubles? All right, we'll we have our own local currency, but we'll deal with it like that. Okay, because America is a reserve dollar bill, but it's the whole point is not using the American dollar. So however much yen is equal to my I don't know rubles. Okay, we'll trade that way. Okay, and that's how this whole BRICS thing is kind of moving. Okay, because as we just read, you see how the sanctions will cripple a nation's financial stability and trade capabilities, which trade probably is the biggest thing. Okay, because the trade is the first domino that falls into crippling their financial stability. Okay, um, so it says trade restrictions. Sanctions can prohibit or limit the import and export of goods and services, including critical resources like oil, gas, and technology. And when you speak about America, we know that it's the biggest importer of goods from anywhere. Okay, now if you want to speak on a global level, um, like we talk about from time to time, the Nord Stream pipelines. Okay, that was a direct oil pipeline, so of course America will have a very huge interest in destroying that pipeline. All right, it stops the flow of the LNG. Okay, also it stops that major flow of money into Russian pockets, man. Okay, so they've disrupted their enemy on a very subtle level. Okay, because they threw that was a major rock they threw there and then hit their hands, but they foretold it through Biden. Biden gave the speech where he said that something about how they're going to stop it, and he didn't give it an answer. But then shortly after, what happened? Boom. Okay, pipeline explosion. Okay. Um, this can lead to a decrease in export revenues, making it difficult for the sanctioned country to earn foreign currency. See, and especially being that America is the reserve dollar. Okay, that can affect any country there. Okay, and a shortage of imported goods impacting industries and consumers because Babylon the Great is a cash cow for these other nations. Okay, that's why it says in Revelation 18 they're going to weep and cry over her, cast ashes or whatever dust on her head, howl for her. Okay, because she's destroyed, not because they hate this place, but they understood. They're going to understand the the flow of money that it generates for their country. See, financial sanctions. These can include freezing assets and of individuals, entities, or the government, restricting access to international financial markets, and prohibiting transactions with the sanctioned country's banks. This makes it challenging for the country to conduct international trade, borrow money, or even process payments, leading to a decline in foreign investment and economic growth. Ultimately, everything's going to digital anyways. Say total sanctions. These target specific industries such as energy, defense, or finance to limit their ability to operate and generate revenue. For example, sanctions on countries' oil industry. You don't have to read all of this. So let's get back to this article. There is something else I want to get. Man, there's so much here. I didn't think they would give me that much. But yeah, because I want to get into this little bit real quick. And there was something else that I saw that was posted. I know I saw about it was a brother that posted, also one of the elders that posted. So I want to see if I can find it. But first, I gotta get through this, right? Russia accuses NATO, EU of waging real war on it via Ukraine. So, yeah, United Nations. Russia's top diplomat accused NATO and the European Union of using Ukraine to declare a real war against his country in a speech at the United Nations on Thursday that Britain dismissed as false fantasy world distortions. He spoke at a G20 meeting of foreign ministers at the UN 2 days after U.S. President Donald Trump signaled a harsher stance on Moscow, praising Ukraine's war effort and saying NATO allies should shoot down Russian jets that enter their airspace. All right. He says Donald Trump signaled a harsher stance on Moscow, praising Ukraine's war effort and saying NATO allies should shoot down Russian jets that enter their airspace. Okay. Tensions have mounted along Europe's eastern flank, where Estonia has accused Moscow of sending 3 fighter jets into its airspace. A week after NATO jets shot down Russian drones there in that Polish airspace. Another clear example is the crisis in Ukraine provoked by the West. You see, they're everywhere, through which NATO and the EU have already declared a war on my country and are directly involved in it, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said. Okay, all this stuff happening. Lavrov, foreign minister for more than 2 decades, has made similar remarks in the past, but their echo within the walls of the United Nations building, delivered in front of the fellow G20 foreign ministers, underscored the gravity of the moment. He made no reference to Trump's comments earlier this week, instead repeating Russia's position that it was the West's actions that provoked the war in Ukraine, which began when Moscow's forces launched a full-scale invasion in February 2022. Okay. False fantasy world distortions. You okay. Wait. I swear it just said Europe somewhere. Anyways, British Foreign Secretary Yvette Cooper called out Lavrov as he made to leave when she began her speech and condemned Russia's unprovoked war of aggression against Ukraine. No amount of false fantasy world distortions, misinformation, and propaganda from the Russian representative about the causes of war will convince anyone, she said. Russian forces occupy around 20% of Ukraine, and the fighting rages in the east of the country more than 3.5 years since the full-scale invasion. And the fact that they have 20% and that they're saying they're not going to stop. What do you think they're going to do? They're going to keep fighting and keep fighting and keep fighting until either they get 100% or World War III comes to a head first. Well, here it is. See, it jumped on us. Europe's foreign policy chief Kaja Kallas called on world powers to exert international pressure on the Kremlin. There are no signs that Russia's goal of subjugating Ukraine has changed, she said. Ukraine and Europe publicly welcomed Trump's rhetorical U-turn on the war in Ukraine on Tuesday, in which he mocked the Russian military's slow progress, saying he believed Kyiv could turn the tables on Russia and retake its occupied land. All right. Oh, there's more, but we're not going to read into that. But actually, that's the end, anyways. It says Trump has not imposed heavy new sanctions on Russia. Instead, he has imposed tariffs on products from India for buying Russian oil and discussed the possibility of similar actions against China. Okay, and so that's all. All right, I got clipped off there, but I did want to at least get one scripture because I did mention it. Okay, here we go right here. Revelation 13:2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear. Okay, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion, and the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. Okay, and so this whole beast here, this whole system, pretty much is run mostly by America, right? Called the hammer of the earth. But notice it says here that it has the feet of a bear. Okay, the feet are the end of the thing, just like in Daniel chapter 2. The stone that smote the foot of the statue and became a great mountain and filled the earth. That was Yahushua taking authority here in this realm and establishing the kingdom of heaven. So here you have, Edomite against Edomite. Okay, Russia's the big bad on one side, America's the big bad on the other side. Okay, and so Russia's that bear, all right? So it's the foot, the end of America, because it's going to be the main nation to rise up and take down Babylon the Great. Because if you go to Revelation chapter 17, I guess we'll go over there since we're here real quick. You have his own allies that are going to turn against it. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, he shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. So they may be at conflict now, but at some point, okay, everybody's going to be against Babylon the Great and decide to launch missiles on her all at once. For the Most High had put it in their hearts to fulfill His will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of the Most High should be fulfilled. And also, if you go to, here it is, Ezekiel 38, just to back up the point about the bear, the foot, okay, or the feet, okay, with bear. I just want the point where it says, yeah, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. See, Russia's the big bad on that side, okay? That's why America is constantly dancing around it and trying not to go into direct conflict with Russia. But according to the prophecies of the book, it's going to happen. And once they do, full-scale World War III, and eventually, that's going to be the end of Babylon the Great, right? So, yeah, that pretty much just that article that stood out to me. Not a heavy article, okay, but it is very interesting there. Because I think I've seen a news clip on it, but I pulled that article up. But you know, speaking about the proxy wars, okay, and Russia is saying that NATO and the EU are directly involved with them simply because they're backing up Ukraine, which they are in direct conflict with Russia. They're in the midst of a war, Russia and Ukraine, and so if NATO and EU is backing them, then Russia is saying that, hey, you guys are, you're pretty much provoking us, and you're against us as well. All right. So with that being said, I'm gonna pause right here. Okay. So I haven't had a chance to watch this yet, but I did see it. It says breaking news: UK will implement digital ID mandatory for all adults in the UK. Okay. Now you have camps out here that are teaching, uh, not teaching the correct doctrine when it comes to this prophecy, but the prophecy of the MOTB, Revelation chapter 13, verse 16, 17. We got to keep talking about it because that's the one prophecy you can't get wrong. You really can't have any of them wrong, but in life or death situation, that's a prophecy that you cannot get wrong, man. Okay, because if you get that wrong, that means you're gonna fall victim into taking the device, and the Lord's gonna destroy you. Okay, so this is why this is a constant topic. Plus, you also have new Israelites that are waking up. They need to know what the truth of the matter is, because this is here. This stuff is here, man. Okay, it's everywhere. Sooner or later, everything's going to go digital. All right. How it's going to come about? Well, I mean, we really don't know. Okay, there could be some kind of EMP attack, and you know, blackout, and everything's chaos, and everything's online. When it comes back online, or it's not dollars anymore, it's digital, or the chaos or happens, and then however it's going to play out, however the Lord wants it to play out, it's going to play out. But the thing is that this technology is here, and Esau's almost ready to roll it out, man. But let me just play the elder here, because I haven't had a chance to watch this yet.
All right, shalom, one shalom, giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Shon Kakadash.
And you can see his channel right there, GMS Hawaii Va. So subscribe and be edified. I believe his name is Gabaria Howard. Yeah, Elder Gabaria Howard. So yeah.
I want to give double honor to the apostles, the bishop, elders, a great millstone, teaching the word and truth and sincerity and for ruling well. So he teaches to the elect. Hey, this is Brother Gabaria Howard from GMS Hawaii. Coming to you with a quick lesson. I'm speaking a little fast because I'm a little excited. But at the same time, this is breaking news, breaking news, breaking news. This is the first of many steps to the MOTB, the fast track of the MOTB system. Right. Okay, in the UK right now, they're about the UK Prime Minister is saying that every adult needs to get a digital ID, right? And I'm going to play the video in a second, but I just wanted to bring this out because, hey, this is the step. This is the step that they're taking towards the MOTB. It's going to start with a digital ID. They're going to start with a digital ID that's connected to biometrics, that's connected to you in every different way, and eventually it's going to go to the MOTB.
All right. And matter of fact, let me see if I can do this real quick. I think I got rid of that. We'll be able to go back to that page. Let's go over here. Okay, define biometrics. Okay, which we understand what this is, but this is just for maybe there's a new believer, so hopefully we get something out of this. Biometrics refers to the measurement and statistical analysis of unique biological and behavioral characteristics of individuals for, here's the key, and that was a mouthful, but here's the key, characteristics of individuals for identification and authentication purposes, okay? Digital identities, that's why you keep hearing about that talk, digital ID, digital ID, digital ID, over and over and over, okay? Because that digital ID will be transitioned into pretty much the digital chip, okay, the device that they want to implant into you, okay, to connect you to their digital system, okay. Biometric identifiers are broadly categorized into physiological and behavioral characteristics. Physiological characteristics are related to the physical shape of the body and include, but are not limited to, fingerprints, palm veins, right? Palm veins, okay. Facial recognition. And these are major. Fingerprints, facial recognition, very major. I guess palm veins as well. Oh, here's a key thing. DNA. Look, iris recognition. Okay, they had a machine called the iris orb scanner. Okay, they were trying to get people to look into this little chrome ball and get their iris scan, their eyeball scan. Okay, but yeah, iris recognition. So just like you've seen in these futuristic type movies where somebody walk up to a door and you can't get in, you don't know the code because there's no code. They have to put their hand on this palm thing and it'll scan their palm, or they'll put their eye up to the scanner and the laser thing will scan their eyeball. That's recognition that, oh, this person is authorized to come into this doorway, so I'm gonna unlock the latch and open the door for them. See, in a computerized system. And retina scans. Okay, no, not too much different from iris, a little bit different though. Behavioral characteristics. Okay, oh, that comes out more now in a bigger understanding, because when you factor in now Palantir, right, with what Palantir wants and trying to do. Okay, so hey, that one kind of stands out more now when you go into behavioral characteristics, because they're saying that we're going to set up a pre-crime unit. Okay, so we'll be able to foresee you doing a crime and come in and swoop down on you before you even committed the crime. Okay, you got Jake out here playing though. Sometimes termed behavioral metrics. That's a new one. Behavioral metrics. We'll just stick with pre-crime. Are associated with a person's patterns of behavior, such as typing rhythm, gait, signature, and voice. Which this is going to something slightly different, but Palantir still is a major thing though. So you might want to look into that. We did a recent lesson on that. Yeah, it says associated with a person's patterns of behavior. Okay, and if you go into your actions, like what you do, where you frequent, and how you act, react, all these different things. Okay, such as typing rhythm, which I don't understand why typing rhythm, but gait. Okay, signature, and voice, which voice is a major one. The selection of specific metric for an application depends on several factors. Okay, including universality. Everyone possesses the trait uniqueness. The trait is sufficiently different among individuals. Permanence. The trait remains invariant. Okay, we're not going to read all this. Biometric systems operate in two primary modes: verification and identification. In verification or authentication mode, the system performs a one-to-one comparison of a captured biometric with a stored template to confirm a claimed identity. See, that's why they want you. That's why they're trying to transition you to wearables and digital IDs and stuff like that, because that's the first step into having people step into the door of the MOTB. A captured biometric with a stored template to confirm a claimed identity, which goes to all those things that we read up above, to identify you by. This often uses a smart card, username, or ID number to specify the template for comparison, which you kind of have that already with a driver's license or ID, but they want everything to be digital. See? Then when they want to take it another step further to get a C-hip inside of you, so now we can just, everything just immediately scanned and pulled up, and we know whatever we need to know, like right off the rip. We can identify you just like that. In identification mode, the system performs a one-to-many comparison against a database to establish the identity of an unknown individual. See, they want to know who everybody is. That's part of them playing God. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 4. They want to sit in the seat of the Most High. We haven't read that one in a while. The process typically involves enrollment, where biometric information is captured and stored as a template. Subsequent uses involve capturing new biometric data, pre-processing it, extracting features, and comparing it to the stored template. Multimodal biometric systems, which use multiple sensors or biometrics, are increasingly employed to overcome the limitations of unimodal systems and enhance security and accuracy. These systems can fuse information at the feature level, matching score level or decision level. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty much all we need from there. Data security is paramount, as compromised biometric data cannot be easily changed like a password. Yeah, I bet. Because that's going to be you, and they're going to know it. Okay, so let's go back over here. Hope we can pull it right back in. Yeah, there we go.
That's how things work. It's called gradualism. Okay, and this is a plan that every nation on the earth is going to start adjusting to, right? And it's only a matter of time before it hits America. Something's going to happen. Digital ID is going to be implemented and forced upon the people. And eventually those digital IDs are going to transfer to the MOTP, right? That's the likelihood of them introducing it. I had it on a chat a while ago. Matter of fact, I'm trying to find it. So I asked the chat if America were going to implement, it should have been implement an RFID microchip or CBDCs, what stages would be first? Do you think? Do you think a digital ID will be implemented? Slacking for all the incorrect spellings on here, but it says short answer yes. A national digital ID or a set of interoperable digital IDs would almost certainly come first, or at least in parallel, before any program to link implanted RFID chips to a US CBDC, right? This is stepwise roadmap most plausible. Policy signals, conditions, lawmakers, Fed agencies, Congress Administration Commission Studies Task Force to report on digital ID payments and Homeland Security. It says CBDC design, technical pilot, central bank, private partners, this is the point, digital ID rollout, state plus federal plus private sectors. The practical rollout usually starts with mobile driver's license, MDL pilots, and interoperable EID systems.
See, then we just mentioned that driver's license. Okay, they want a digital form of who you are. Okay, a digital form of your identity. Okay, that's why they want all these different types of information to compile, a little complex data that says that this is this person, and there's going to be no if and buts about it, no doubts. They're going to know that this is you. That's the whole point of taking everything digital, because nobody's going to be able to hide from a digital identity. And then furthermore, because they're heading for the C-hip, now that we have everybody, lined up for a digital identity, now we can put the pressure on them with the C-hip, because that's the choice of you're gonna fall in line with our system or not. But the first step is stuff like this.
State and vendors already are integrating IDs into wallets and touch standards. Digital ID ecosystem scale before anything that attaches to the identity of the body. So a signal that this is going to be the precursor to the chip, and this is breaking news right here.
And that's why you have things like self-checkouts. You have all this tap and pay, where you got the Apple Pay and other stuff like that. But main thing I was mentioning is tap, where you just tap, okay, and you pay, and so on and so forth. Okay, those things are to transition you into, and desensitizing you into the whole new system itself.
Right? So without any further ado, let me play this real quick. Let me play what he said. The Prime Minister has signalled that he is going to announce tomorrow plans for all adults in the UK to have a digital ID card. As Keir Starmer is expected to reveal more details on that, but it's understood he believes the ID cards will help them crack down on illegal immigration. It will be a form of proof of a citizen's right to live and work in the UK. Most European countries do require their citizens to hold ID cards, but the UK has long resisted with concerns over civil rights and privacy issues. That's the same thing that they have in America. They're going to use this digital ID to confirm your identity. They want to know who you are, where you are, right? They're going to use this digital ID to grant you access, and eventually it's going to go from that digital ID, right, or digital ID card, right, which is going to be accessible via your mobile devices, your computer devices, and then eventually they're going to go to the chip. Right, it said it right here.
Yeah, they're gonna make you the mobile device. They're gonna make you into the computer.
This is what happened in America. It says a digital ID rollout, state plus federal and private sector. Practical rollout usually starts with mobile driver's license. You just said that, which they already have that in America, but now there's gonna be.
You see, you're not saying the same thing I was saying.
Push even harder. Or MDL pilots and interoperable EID systems or electronic IDs. States and vendors already are integrating IDs into wallets and testing.
In which there's certain things where you have to have an electronic ID, especially when you're dealing with like state stuff. When you have to go on like these state websites or stuff like that, or maybe even city or whatever. Okay, they'll say that you have to have an EID or whatever. Okay, which most people don't have to use, all the time. Like I don't know, maybe like I don't know, like with a community college or certain things like that, or from time to time like taxes. Okay, but well I guess everybody really kind of has to deal with it when you think about taxes. Okay, but you get the point. Okay, I was speaking more so like the website, from that angle. But yeah, now I think about taxes. Okay, because you have all these different IDs and stuff like that, numbers.
Standards and digital ID ecosystems scale before anything that attaches identity to the body. Bottom line, a robust privacy-aware digital ID framework is what lets the system authenticate a person's securely. It's the natural step before granting a persistent payment credential implant authority. It's a natural step, right? Real quick, today, the Prime Minister of the UK just announced it would be implemented digital IDs. Right? Is this a step towards microchipping? It may say no, but we'll see. We'll see what it says. It's breaking news, man. Just bear with me trying to see what it says. It says short answer, yes. Short answer, yes. Today, the Prime Minister of the UK just announced it will be implementing digital IDs. Is this a step toward microchips? Short answer, yes. The UK moved toward a mandatory national digital ID is a meaningful step in the direction of the kinds of identity infrastructures that could make linking people to a CBDC or implanted credentials technically possible. but it is not the same as a decision to implant RFID chips. There are big legal, political, and social gaps between a digital ID rollout and an implant, right? What the UK announced. Media reports that Prime Minister Keir Starmer is expected to back a Britcard and a mandatory digital ID for adults to verify right to work, rent, use government digital ID infrastructure. And this is what's going to happen in America. The minister has signaled that he's going to... This is coming to America, bro. Right? America don't like to be a step behind. Right? So this is coming to America. These different European countries and nations, they're going to start implementing this, bro. Right? And we already know the precepts. I don't have to bring it out. Revelation 13 and 16 on down, man. Because of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their forehead, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Right? This is just a precursor. They're moving fast, man. Every adult in the UK will need a digital ID under the new plan. Breaking news. Breaking news. Breaking news. Yeah, I'm going to say shalom on to the next.
See? So let me go back real quick. I want to see what, if they'll tell us anything. Define the UK's Britcard. The UK Britcard, also known as the National Identity Card, was a proposed identity document in the United Kingdom that aimed to provide a secure and verifiable form of identification for all citizens. The concept of a national identity card has a history in the UK with various proposals and debates spanning several decades. See? So, like all things, they've been in the works, right? The most significant push for the Britcard came with the Identity Cards Act of 2006, which legislated for the introduction of a national identity card scheme. The intention behind the Britcard was to combat terror. Come on, man. Anyways, terrorism, illegal immigration, and identity fraud, as well as to improve access to public services. This is some of the same things that he read. Okay, the proposed card was intended to contain a microchip storing biometric data. Woo. Okay, and what's the next step? Inside of you, such as fingerprints and facial scans alongside demographic information. See, the demographic information is important. You need to know everything about you, where you live, financial status, and age, sex, race, creed, color, religion, whatever. We need to know medical records. We need to know everything about you to compile this data together and say that this is you, but digitally. See? No more dollars or euros or yens or pesos or rubles or whatever. Okay, everything's going to be digital, and this is going to be the digital you. That's what they're heading towards, man. However, the implementation of the Britcard faced considerable opposition from various groups, including civil liberties organizations who raised concerns about privacy, cost, and potentials for a surveillance state. Well, that's what they got China for, right? The model of what America wants. Okay, I try to light it up. Okay, surveillance state. That's where. Now this is talking about Brit, but I'm speaking on America. But that's what I guess you could say it's worldwide. But just to speak on America, that's what that Palantir comes in at. See, all that surveillance. Despite initial plans for a phased rollout, the scheme was ultimately scrapped in 2010 by the incoming coalition government through the Identity Documents Act of 2010. This act repealed the Identity Cards Act 2006 and mandated the destruction of all collected biometric data. As a result, the UK Britcard as a national identity card was never fully implemented and is not currently in use. Yeah, but now it's back, okay? Back in full force, okay? And yeah, like the elder said, hey, get ready for it to be in the Babylon the Great. For all you people out there that don't believe, okay, in the Bible, or don't believe the prophets, or maybe it's a camp out there that don't believe that this is what John the Revelator said it was, well, prepare yourself to find out, okay? So that's pretty much it. This is a quick little various articles / AI chat. A couple decent topics there. Okay, provoking the bear and this breaking news here. All right, the Britcard. So, Lord willing, you will edify to that. Say Shalom.